Hi, and welcome to Living Past Your Expiration Date. I think you're going to enjoy this because it is about you, particularly if you've gotten to, I guess somewhere around 59 or more, where you're at a point where you've got to be thinking about what happens when I'm not working anymore. So we're going to talk about a number of different things. First of all, let me just show you this if I can. Hold on a minute. This is what I would do were I you, and I've done it myself, and that is to go to Google, and I typed in that's when I was born, life expectancy in 1943. You can do that whatever year you were born if you like, or 2026. And I tried 1943, which is where I was born, and that wasn't as pretty a picture as it would have been even if you had gone back to 1938. Because of the war, it was lowering life expectancy rather substantially. So, um, but you can find that out for yourselves, what that is, and we'll talk more about that as we go along. In fact, that's the entire message to some extent, if you will. And so that's what we want to be able to do. All right. So next is the five categories that we're going to be talking about, and they're kind of the whole thing. I mean, there's a lot of subcategories within there, and that's where we're going to go and try to delve deeply into some of those subcategories that are particularly important to us as we grow older. One is money, two is health, three is relationships, four is technology, five is travel. Okay, so let's start with money. That's probably about as important as you're going to get, because if you ain't got money, life can be pretty ugly. So we'll kind of go from there. We're going to talk about some things as we go down the road. I tell you a little bit about myself, only because it may help you if you've had some of the same issues that I have had. But when we talk about money, our first lesson will be a serious treatment of money, and we'll get into what we can do as we grow older to make money not to be an issue for us, or problematic, because it could be uglier than a mud fence if you haven't got any. So we'll get into that. We'll get deeply into that. That's a fact. Okay. Next, we'll get into health. And, I'm not going to read the stuff that I just have there, because you can copy that if you like, or read it or whatever. But as we grow older, the main issue for us in health is pain. uh, get older, it's more likely to have pain. It could be pain from arthritis. It could be pain from neuropathy. Cancer would be uglier than a mud fence. We're going to get some specialists in to talk about cancer, people who, doctors and such. And I'll kind of use my brother as an example of why this can be critical to you. My brother decided not to take the bad news when he got cancer that he was getting locally, and went to a specialist in New York who had a treatment plan for him that I don't know. He as a long story short, he lived just about a decade longer than they were expecting him to live. So he was younger than me, and I would have never expected him to be the one that got cancer. He had made a lot of money in his 20s, and he decided to retire in his 20s, if you can believe it. He bought a farm, and he was going to become a farmer, and he did. And, he was eating fresh food, breathing clean air. This was in upstate New York. I would have thought he would have lived much longer than me, but not so. He's younger than me, and he's been gone a few years already. Um, I asked his wife, I said, geez, I told her the same thing I told you. I would expect Mike to have lived much longer than me. What's the deal? Well, she says, well, I got cancer too. I have a special kind of cancer that only very few people have. But just about everybody that lived around us got cancer. And I guess it was the pesticides and stuff they were using for their farming and to keep their animals healthy and such. That's really sad, but that's true. And I can't help you there. You're lucky and don't get cancer, or you're not. Some people don't, live very long. One of the greatest guitar players of all time, Dwayne Allman, he got in a motorcycle accident as a young man. How many times did I get in motorcycle accidents? A bunch when I was young. Then by the time I reached 30, I realized, driving a motorcycle might be pretty close to what they call it at the nurses in emergency call it donor cycles. Geez, how sick is that? All right, so we'll get in next to relationships. And we're going to do lessons all the time. I'm going to try to do this at least once a week, maybe more often, to where we can get into each of these things in detail. Relationships, for example, I'm going to say to you, and this is just between us guys, okay? You ladies, please just put your hands over your ears. All right. Don't be too selfish, guys. My wife does most all of the cooking. She cleans the dishes. She does stuff like that. About 2 weeks ago, she says to me, I need a wife. So it's kind of true, and it's good. I mean, if you can get, you're blessed, guys, to have a woman who really takes care of you. Life is good, All right. So next we'll get into relationships, because there's a lot there. All right. Technology. Oh, man. Technology can make your life a lot easier. Okay. And technology is great. That's my favorite expression. Technology is great when it works. That's what I usually say to the people that I call in for support. Let me give you an example of technology not working. I already recorded this earlier, but I had clicked the wrong button, system instead of microphone. That was pretty sad. All right, so there we go. All right, so what I'm going to do, we're going to get into a lot of lessons on technology because it can be very important. A lot of you don't like it, don't even want to participate, but it's here. It's uglier than a mud fence, but it's as real as a cold rain on a bare head. That's just what it is. Finally, we'll get into travel. And, I want to kind of talk with you a little bit about this. Please read what I wrote here, because the technology is there. Life has changed, okay? When I was younger and traveled, I didn't even, I could buy 5 of your tickets. If you got a deal on tickets, I could buy your tickets and use your ticket with your name. I mean, it's not the same, anywhere near the same anymore when we travel. Plus, as we get older, I don't mean this in any kind of a negative way, but I just wonder if maybe these people just at the airports and such don't smack us around because we're older. Something ain't right. But, because we're probably the least likely people to be up to anything that you would expect from the ne'er-do-wells. We're not going to be carrying drugs, well, except our own, and then they treat us like, we're whatever because we didn't leave our drugs, in our original containers, and we put them in a dispenser. Don't do that. And, all right, I got to mention another thing about travel that can happen. When my dad was 63, he decided to go on a trip. He retired, decided to go on a trip to Europe. And he was in Spain, and he caught a cold. And, he never really got rid of it. It turned into emphysema. Of course, he had smoked all his life. That's not a good thing. And that could have been the real problem right there. But traveling and catching the cold reared its ugly head. You could probably study that online, and we will study travel and what are some of the issues, health-wise and otherwise, with travel. So we'll go from there. Now, Please realize I'm going to do this on a regular basis, at least once a week, and I hope to do it more than once a week, where we have one of these lessons. If you have any level of skill or expertise in any of the areas that we have discussed, please let me know, and let's let you be part of the presentation, because we're really trying to help people. That's the whole idea here. We're not charging anybody anything to be here. We're just trying to make this a good opportunity to make our lives better as we grow older. So I want to thank you for being here. God bless you. Let me know what your thoughts are. You can do that below. And there you have it. Take care and enjoy life. See you. Bye.